Integration Workshop 6.2, Collaboration, Cooperation and Sharing. This time I'm going to show you how to actually make a podcast. Now, this is my setup. Here is where I'm sitting. I've set up a green screen. Now, green screens here you can buy off eBay. This one here cost me about $13, and I've just got some border clips to stick it up on the back. I've got my Coke because that's kind of important for me. I'm using a Microsoft LifeCam. I'm actually using that for the microphone and just using the webcam built into my computer for the podcast. You can see here as well that I've actually got this on it's just a box of paper, so that my camera is sitting at eye height, right? So it's looking down. If you put your camera on your desk, and I'll just show you for a second, if I put this down here, and looking up, then all you see is all my chins. So that's not something that you want. Okay, hopefully that's still aimed at me. So, I'm just going to now show you. Here is where you can see where I have set up my window, my picture. Okay, so here's where you can see I've set this up here. I can move this around anywhere I want, right? Because that's a separate feed. Also, I can detach the audio, right? So now I've got my screen, right? The other thing is, because I've used a green screen on the back, I can go down here to the video filters, and just about every program now will do that and go bang, and it takes away the background. So this is how you get this effect of me just sitting in the back, hovering around on the screen. Now, if you actually listen to me, and in the bottom right hand corner is where I'm sitting. I'm going to show you how to do some green screening, and oh, whoops, I've stuffed it up. So as you can see, because I've stuffed this up, I need to find a way of fixing it. So what I can do is I can highlight here, I can press T to trim it, and do the same here, and now I can delete that section and put it like that. Right hand corner is where I'm sitting. I'm going to show you how to do some. Okay. Right, and I still don't like that, so just going to trim that bit off. Okay. Move that over. I'm going to show you how to do some. Okay. All right. So you do see a little bit of a glitch. So what we can do is I can just delete my face off there. Where I'm sitting. I'm going to show you how to do some. Okay. All right. So see where this is a way of doing a simple podcast. When I'm I can also add in extra media from other sources and put that in. I'm not going to show you how to do that, but when I'm finished, I can then go File and Publish to YouTube, or I can export it straight to my computer. Okay, so that's basically how to do a podcast. Now, to get back to here, I'm going to talk about Podcast Smash, or a Pod Smash. Now, we've discussed about students making their own podcast with the Gelotissimo excursion prac, or the Gelotissimo podcast. What you can do though is you can actually set the students to do a podcast for homework. And then what they do is they come back into class. Right, so they've all made their podcast. They come back into class and they each have their podcast here. Right, so maybe a computer set up, maybe an iPad or a phone or so on. But they've come back in and they put in all their stuff. What they then do is move around one. Right, so they either pass their phone or device to each other or move around in their seat, and then they go and watch each other's podcast, and they keep moving around until they get back to the first one. Once they've finished, they then decide who they think is best from the table. And then after they've done that, group 1 and group 2, all these students will decide which ones they think is the best. So these ones thought the iPad one, and this ones thought the computer one was the best. Then they swap and they watch each other's. And then they decide, or maybe many groups, and they decide which groups is the best in the class. Now, once you've decided who's the best in the class, you can then actually share that podcast with everyone in the class, if that's the agreement. And that way people can decide, well, why is this one the best? Why is it better than mine? And they can come up with their answer. The good thing about this is, at the end of the day, you don't really care about the quality of the podcast. You don't care whose is the best. You don't care about even about the marks. What you've actually done is you've got each of the students to go and research the piece of research the bit of information that you want them to research and produce a podcast. Right? Once they've done that, they've come back and watched 3 other people in their group. Once they've done that, they've then watched multiple groups. So you've actually got the students to watch the same bit of information and revise it at least 5 times. Now, if I gave you this video and said, can you please watch this video 5 times? Well, probably half of you have skipped through most of this anyway, and so most of you haven't even watched it once, or maybe once. No one's going to watch it 5 times. However, if they're watching everybody else's everyone else's, this is equivalent of watching it 5 times. So they should really know the material. So this is a really quick and easy way of getting students to do their work at home, bring it back into the classroom. They're demonstrating their learning. You can check how they're going. They're sharing their information. They're comparing and contrasting to see whether or not they're up to the same standards as everyone else. And also they're absorbing the information through osmosis. Now, here I've actually got some examples of of programs you could use to make a podcast. The one that I'm using here on my computer is ScreenFlow. I also use one called Wirecast, which is really expensive, about $800, and that allows me to stream straight to YouTube. But I'm finding ScreenFlow is working better at the moment. On a Mac, iMovie is probably the one that everybody uses. Audacity does work for making a sound file, but not a picture file. On a PC, again, Audacity works. Windows Movie Maker is built into the computer. Photo Story 3 I think is now outdated, but Cam Studio is one that is done quite often. On the iPad, Explain Everything is fantastic. It's probably what is the first app you should ever buy if you get an iPad. ScreenChomp I've heard is quite good. I have used it very briefly, but I always go back to Explain Everything. And online there is lots of ones you can use. You can actually make a podcast directly to YouTube. All right, so that is making a podcast. So as I said, you've set up your stage area. For me, it's the one with the green screen behind me. You've researched your subject and prepared your podcast or PowerPoint. Record in stages. That makes it a lot easier, but if you can record in one go, that's great. Import it into your computer to be able to do all your editing. In my case, it's direct recorded straight onto my computer. Export to your sound or video on your screen, and then upload or share to a hosting site. A lot of classes and schools nowadays you can share it straight to your learning platform.